and the other one's like, oh no, what do we do to get them back? Well, let's just ride on each other, and that's how you get the situation where you have these Toho girls riding on each other. So, you know, very family-friendly concept here. But as far as the racing goes, so you can see there's like these boost rings, right? And they give you speed. I did a little shortcut there. And what you want to do is basically go through as many of these boost rings as you can, just to maintain your speed as best as you can. And they also gave you a small amount of meter, as you can see on the bottom right of the screen. And when those fill up all the way, you can get a little spell. And right now I just threw knives, now I got a bomb. And in the speedrun, I'm mostly going to be looking for one certain spell called a Cradle. It'll kind of look like a red arrow, and it's the best spell in terms of taking shortcuts, because it gives you a little height boost. And you saw how the shortcut I took back there, there was like a little fence railing that I had to go over, and the Cradle, oops, got stuck there, gives you that boost. See, like there's another one right here that I'm gonna go over, theoretically, to be able to do all those different shortcuts. So if you see me pulling for items, that's mostly what I'm going for. And so as we're going through, we're just going to be going through some major locations throughout the Toho universe. Like right now we're at the Forest of Magic, which is Marisa's home. And just going through, racing along as best as we can. So this track has a pretty strong no item shortcut right here that I just failed. I probably won't get it, it's kind of hard. But it allows you to skip a small portion of the track off to the right side there. And we have this cave section here, which is a little challenging for new players. Sometimes you can get caught on the ceiling or something. I'm gonna try and pull here because if the... oh, I actually got the Cradle. So this will allow me to take this shortcut coming up here. And I can just fly over this area. Just like that, skip the whole turn. So, oh yeah, and I can get a fans, try this. And okay, it was a little rough, but I made that second shortcut work out. But that's basically how most of the shortcuts in this game work out, is that they require a small bit of height, and usually an item, or some way of riding up along a wall or something like that, in order to access them. And so the speedrun is basically trying to take as many advantage of as many of those as you can. Of course, when you get something like knives, you can't really do much about it. Being in first place, you have a 1 in 8th chance to pull a Cradle, which is not very good odds. You get better odds the further back you are, but unfortunately in this game the AR aren't very strong, so you know, not much you can really do about it. Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention is that, so right now I'm riding on Marisa, but I can switch at any time and ride on Reimu, or the other character in the combo. And switching costs a little bit of your spell meter. So you often run into the choice of, do you want to save up for a spell, or do you just want to spend it on switches? Because switches also give you a small speed boost, and I'll be making use of a lot of those in this track because these two characters... oops, that's not drifting the right way. These two characters are some of the slowest in the game. So if you just stand still and don't switch at all, it's gonna be really slow. So you just want to make the most of what you have, basically. There's another stage where you get these two again, and it's quite bad on there as well. So just a bunch of switching. Now I'm gonna try and pull for Cradles on this map because the Cradle shortcut on this map is really strong, and it's very polarizing in online. Okay, there we go, we got one. So this is good. I can show just how much you skip with a single Cradle on this track. Like you can see on the minimap, there's like a little square section up top, right? I'm gonna skip all of that just by flying over this bridge. Great shortcut. Saves a bunch of time. And it's pretty much like so strong that even in like online ranked match, you'll have people that will sandbag behind places just to have a better chance at pulling those cradles. And fortunately we can't do the same thing, partly because there's only one CPU and being in second still doesn't give you amazing odds, but also because the CPUs are so bad. Alright, did not pull it for lap 3, which is a little unfortunate, but it's not every day that we get lucky enough. You can also do this like mini shortcut here if you have good air. Both of these characters have pretty good air stats, so that's worth taking, otherwise you just go the normal route like before. Just gonna drop that so you don't get distracted. But yeah, now that we're on lap 3, I'm gonna just spend the rest of my meter on switching. Just trying to take as tight of a line as we can. No need to worry about running out of meter because the race is pretty much over here. But yeah, that was Human Village. One of the more favorable tracks, new players. And now we're in the Scarlet Devil Mansion. This one, a lot of right-angled walls and curves and stuff. Also, I do apologize to anyone that might get, what's it called, disoriented perhaps by how frequently I look behind me when I race. It's just a pretty much muscle memory from playing online all the time, because you always gotta watch out for when people are behind you and they're about to throw a bomb or an amulet or something at you. I'll see, like, just like that, they're trying to throw knives at me. Luckily, oops, that was not a bonk I wanted to make there. But yeah, this is actually another track that has a pretty strong cradle shortcut, so I'm hoping I'll be able to pull at least one and show that off. One other thing about this specific combo that I don't really like too much, so you'll see I'm spending most of my time on Kokoro on the bottom and not so much on Koishi. Kokoro is one of the fastest characters in the game in terms of just pure ground speed, whereas Koishi is, let's just say she's bottom tier. But neither of them have particularly good air stats, which makes that section I just crossed fairly slow for about then. Okay, I pulled a cradle, so I'll be able to show it off on lap 3. But yeah, it is of your combo, it's the character on the bottom whose stats are being used. And as you can see, there's also a few like small shortcuts that I'm going up the stairs here, which is faster than just going through the regular route that I went through on lap 1. Because you get to this hallway around like 2 seconds faster, I believe. Okay, I'm gonna try and show off that shortcut now. You cut off a pretty good portion of the track. There's a hole in the wall right here, and you go straight through. And I'll switch to Koishi for this tight turn, and back. So, definitely knowing the shortcuts makes a huge difference to how well you do in any given race. And unfortunately, due to like how, I suppose, niche the game is, we kind of have a small player base. So it is a little bit hard for new players to get really into it, because you pretty much have to know all the shortcuts in order to even have a chance at like online races. But even so, most of them are not too hard to learn. Like the ones in the last one, you're just going through holes in the walls and stuff like that. And this one, there's really only one shortcut. There are some alternate paths that you can tell on the minimap. Like right here, I'm going to cut in here and get a bunch of boost rings. Way faster than going the normal route. And then I'm also on another alternate path here. You can see the CPU takes we'll call it the normal route, and it's much longer than the path that I'm taking. Missed the ring there. But yeah, already I'm like way ahead of the CPUs, so you can just see how much time it saves to go these different paths and knowing which one's the best. There's one tiny shortcut here. You can see it's right there, that little fence you can cut over. But it's rather minor, it doesn't save too much time, but it is a shortcut nonetheless. Now, right now I'm spending most of my time on Remilia, and she is definitely one of the best characters in the game. In my opinion, I think she's the best character overall. She has one of the highest air speeds and ground speeds. And I mean, that's basically all you need to be a good character, is being fast. Because meanwhile, characters like Sakuya, even though she could turn really well, like she can make those turns really easily, whereas Remelia has a lot wider of a drift. There's actually a mechanic in the game that we call break drifting. That is, it's actually dependent on how far you slide out when you do a drift. And as you can see, Remelia slides out quite a bit compared to Sakuya, who like pretty much turns instantly. And you may notice that I've been pretty much drifting as soon as I exit a ring, which we call break drifting. To put it simply, it's like speed preservation, because the speed that you get from a boost ring goes away fairly shortly after you pass through the ring. But by drifting, you keep your speed longer, and so you end up going faster in the long run by doing those drifts, because otherwise you'll just keep going back to your normal top speed. And it's definitely more effective the further out you slide, because you'll be traveling, basically traveling at a diagonal, and so when you slide out further, you get like more of a speed boost in the sideways direction, which is helpful. Not to say that it's not something that you do even if you were on like Sakuya. Like, I'd still break drift with her. Oops, missed the ring. But it's just much more effective on the low drift characters, which is why a lot of the top tiers, like Suika or Remelia, are all low drift characters. Kokoro is also part of that category. Not nearly as strong as the others, but still a very strong character. And yeah. And this track is probably one of my favorites in the game. It's just pretty nice to look at. The waterfall section is pretty fun. And there is a shortcut right here. I just passed it to my right. And you can skip this whole last curve here if you have a cradle. And it's a very strong shortcut if you have a cradle. Hopefully I'll be able to pull at least one of. There is one more shortcut inside the factory section, but it is far less reliable. And that's true. Remelia is racing in the sunlight. You know, we don't have to worry about those kinds of details. You know, you can't let yourself be held back by common sense. Yeah, right to the left there's another shortcut where you can like skip this wall here and then you come out. I don't know if you can see that hole up there in the wall. Oops. But yeah, you come out there and then you just skip a small curve. It's not as good. Oh, nice, I pulled a cradle. As this ending shortcut that I'm gonna show off. But the worst part about the shortcut inside the factory is there's a small gap right before the hole in the wall that you can fall into, and it gives you a terrible respawn. And more often than not, yeah, that shortcut is really nice, it saves a lot of time. But more often than not, you just get stuck in a respawn loop for like 2 or 3 times, and it's just terrible. I don't know why it hasn't been patched or fixed or anything. But no one goes for that anyways, because the shortcut at the end is so much better. And now we're on the longest track in the game, with 2 of the slowest characters in the game. Which is a pretty unfortunate combination of how things are, but there's not much we can do about it. At the very least, Sueko has okay-ish boost, so having her go through the boost rings isn't too bad. But yeah, this track usually takes about 3 minutes, which is by far the longest. The second longest track usually goes around 2.5 minutes, I'd say. But because this is the longest track, we will be seeing some of the characters use their last words. And so, as I explained, when you have the bar filled up with green, you can get a level 1 spell. Now I have it filled up to the blue, so I'd be able to pull a level 2 spell. And you can also see there's a little yellow bar right above the spell bar, right? And that is for your last word. And when that fills up all the way, instead of pulling a level 2 spell, you can pull a character-specific spell. It's kind of like an ultimate. They're very strong. And they're usually the only way that the CPUs will be able to affect you in a race aside from the very beginning. Which is unfortunate because on this track it's the longest one, so you're probably gonna end up getting hit by some of them. Notably, the Sakuya and Remilia combo both have annoying last words. Sakuya's last word is time gets slowed down for 8 seconds, which is basically a 4-second time loss that you can't do anything about. Remilia's last word is Spear the Gungnir, which is it's like the blue shell in like Mario Kart 8, where it like hits first and everyone on the way. So that's also pretty annoying. Usually that's the only last words you have to worry about in this race. Koishi might also use her last word, which is drains your meter and slows you down, which is annoying. But not like the end of the world. But I'm going to try and get my own last word, which is... Okay, that's Futo's last word. That one we don't have to worry about. She just pulls 16 bombs, which is really funny during online ranked if you run into a Futo and they use their last word. You know, just watch out for them. Never know when they're gonna start raining bombs on you. But yeah, I should be able to pull the last word at the end of this boost section. And Suoka's last word is very good because it causes the rain to fall, which speeds you up and slows everyone else down. So it might be a little hard to tell, but I am going a little bit faster than normal. And it's just a nice little speed boost to finish off the race. Pretty much the only time you'll be able to lose or use your last word in the campaign. Yeah, right after the longest track we have one of the shortest tracks in the game. This is actually a 1-lap track, the only 1-lap track in the game. Just gonna try and get out of the way of the... Yeah, the CPUs are a little annoying, kind of bumping you around at the start, but usually you will not have too much trouble with them afterwards. Except for, there's one more part where I have to be careful. There's a pretty long straight coming up, and if they pull like an amulet or something, which is basically like a red shell, then they could hit me, but I think we're good. So now it's just smooth sailing for the rest of this. And this track, it's very pretty. You know, you have all the cherry blossoms blooming while the track is going on. And let me pull for an item. There are a few shortcuts in this track. Probably will not be able to show them off. They're Cradle-only shortcuts. And my success rate on them is not that high in the first place, so it's probably not worth risking falling off and having to respawn. But there's one to the left there, that little wooden platform. You can cradle onto that and skip this turn. It saves a small amount of time, but it's usually worth going for if you have the cradle. And then, yeah, once we get onto the ground, then the finish line is just right there. So yeah, second shortest track in the game, I believe. There's one more short track, but it's not for a while. And then we get Embers. So this is kind of like, I guess you could think of it as like a Bowser's Castle. It's pretty unfriendly towards new players, I'd say. But the biggest point to note about this track is that it is very much a luck-based track. And if I pull a cradle, you will see what I mean. Okay, I pulled a fan. I might be able to do it with one, but I'm not very good at it with Raisin. But there's a spiral here, and you can skip the first... Okay, I almost got it. You can skip that first turn of the spiral if you have a cradle. You can also do it with a fan, but it's a lot harder. You can see I just failed it. But yeah, a lot of twisting and turning on this track. And because that cradle short... Oh goodness. That was unfortunate. But yeah, because that cradle shortcut is so important, I'm mostly just going to be not switching at all, and just trying to farm as many items as I can to try and pull those cradles, and just get as many of those as I can. Because it saves about, I'm not sure, 5 seconds maybe? Depending on the character. Because the other thing about this track, another fan. It's rather hard for the characters with low drift because they have a hard time taking the spiral. Yeah, taking the spiral so tightly. Raisin is fine. Her drift is good enough that she can do that. But probably anyone that has much worse drift, like Remilia, would definitely struggle on that spiral. So this is probably like one of Remilia's only bad maps as far as that goes. Everywhere else, she's definitely one of the best. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to pull... We'll have one more chance, I think. Yeah, we'll see if we can pull Cradle here. Nope. Oh well. Yeah, it's not every chance that... Oh. Speaking of Sakuya's last word, there it is. So, for 8 seconds my time has been slowed in half. Which doesn't affect my driving at all, it's just annoying. Watch, I'll pull a Cradle now that I've passed the shortcut. Wow, I actually did. See, this game loves me. But that's okay, there's another shortcut at the end that I can still take with this. Hopefully Raisin has enough air that I can actually make it easily. Yeah, and then these turns are also pretty tight. Okay, so on this last platform you can use a cradle here, and there's a little hole in the wall right here that you can sneak through, and then, yeah, there you go. Saves a little bit of time there. You can also do that with a fan, but you have to do it on the platform that's one further up from there. And now we have my favorite track in the whole game. And the reason this is my favorite track is because just how many shortcuts there are. Yes, they almost pushed me out of the initial red ring. This is the kind of track where air characters have the advantage, because you're pretty much just flying over the entire track. This bonk here is intentional because it sets you up with that good angle, and you can just fly all the way over here. You can actually cut off a little bit more than that, if you get even more air, but it's hard to do, and there's also a lot of death planes that you need to be careful about. Basically, you just want to try and get as close as you can to the death planes without falling off. Like, to the right of that pole that I just passed, that's all death plane. So if I were any further to the right, I would have just died and just had to respawn instantly. But yeah, you can just fly over all this section, it's great. And then you have this spiral at the end. And that's one lap. But yeah, it is definitely a difficult track, to say the least. Of all the time that I've spent doing free run or time attacks, I'd say 90% of it has been on this track. Just trying to learn all the shortcuts and get everything down. But fortunately, in the campaign, you are playing two characters that have pretty good air stats on this track. So, oh no. Okay, I'll be safe. Yeah, that came at a really annoying time. Cherno's last word, it makes you... Oh, and there's Koishi's last word. There goes all my meter. But yeah, Cherno's last word, you get stuck in an ice block, which makes you slide around a lot more, and if you hit a wall, you crash into it and you take damage there. So I was just trying really hard to not hit a wall there. but we made it without much difficulty. So that's the first campaign done. And yeah, so now the credits play. You get a nice Eurobeat song. But we will be skipping this because we have to go to the second campaign. So yeah, now we're back at the human village. Unlike the first campaign, the second campaign, you do the whole thing on this combo of Cirno and Seja. Fortunately, Cirno is one of the best characters in the game, so you never have like a bad matchup or anything like that. Seja is not a very good character though, so you're pretty much going to be spending the whole time on Cirno on the bottom. The only times you won't is when you're just switching just for the boost. And I'm going to try and pull Cradle for that shortcut. Pull the Raymond instead. This might still come in handy, because there is a long straight, and if the CPU pulls like an amulet or something, this will protect me from that. It gives me a little like wind box, and that stops hostile items from hitting me, which is pretty nice. Do a few switches here and get the speed boost. Cirno has better air than she has ground speed, so it's a little bit faster for her to take that shortcut. And just cut across the dock like that. Alright, take 2 of trying to get a cradle. Okay, we got a bomb. What's that ring? Bombs are actually pretty decent on this track because there's a few spots, like right here, you can bounce off that roll and it'll hit people behind you. It's great for making people mad. And you know, whenever you feel like you have someone that's hot on your tail and you just want to shake off. But yeah, aside from that, there's not too much that's different from the first time you played Human Village. There's one more shortcut here actually, if I can... Yeah, let me show this off real quick. You can cut through that little house there, if you have a cradle. It doesn't actually save that much time, because you don't get the boost rings to the side if you go that way, but it is a shortcut nonetheless. Just a little fun thing to show off. I believe Yokai Mountain is the next... Yeah. So we're back here again, and then after this, I believe we're getting the rest of the new tracks. Yeah, for some reason, there's like a little rock that disappears when I pass by it. I think it only happens when you're playing on the lowest graphic settings, which I'm playing on. Because I was doing a practice run earlier, and I kept getting some lag spikes as I was doing it, so hopefully everything is pretty smooth on the stream. I'm not really paying too much attention to that front. But yeah. And then this part. So the thing about this track is that you want to make sure you have... Oh no. Well, you want to make sure not to do that first of all. But this whole waterfall section, you have almost no boost rings until this part where you climb back up the mountain. So you want to make sure that you had your spell meter stocked up so that you can go through all those switches. Since otherwise you'd just be stuck. Like, the worst thing is when you get stuck on your slow character, and then you just can't do anything until you charge the natural limit back up again. Because honestly, Cirno is just better than Seja in pretty much every single way. The only thing that Seja is probably better at is her last word. So Cirno's last word I explained, you have like an ice block, and... Oh wait, I don't have much meter. Made a mistake. Oh well. She puts you in an ice block, right? But Sage's last word is actually probably one of the strongest in the game. It makes everyone lose the spell that they're holding, as well as an entire bar of meter, and on top of that, it does damage. A small spin if you're in 2nd through 7th, and if you're in 1st place, you get a stun for 2.4 seconds, yeah. And so the ability to deny others items is... Only Seija has that power with her last word. I mean, kind of Koichi, because she drains meter, but it's not for items that you've already drawn and are holding. So because of that, it's really strong on maps like Yokai Mountain that have a cradle shortcut at the very end, because you can pretty much deny all the people that try and take that shortcut by using it. And of course you keep your own one, so then you can just take it, and then it's like after you're in. And now we're at Library. So this is actually one of the less popular tracks in the game. I believe the majority of the reason for that is the moving bridge that we saw. It'll be coming up after this U-turn. But yeah, a lot of tight turns and stuff. So this moving bridge right here, it's cycle based, and if you mess it up and get stuck, like falling off, or even just like bouncing off like I did on that wall, you can get like it's just a big time loss, and it's annoying, and you're like, why is this in the game? And yeah, I don't know why it's in the game either, but it's part of the game, so it's just something that we have to live with. But yeah, the worst part is when you fall past the bridge, and then the bridge moves onto you after you've already like fallen off, but haven't like respawned yet, and then you're just stuck because the bridge has become on top of you, and you have to wait for the bridge to move back away from you in order to die, and then you can respawn. And when that happens, you just lose like 10 seconds. It's pretty terrible. But fortunately, that didn't happen to us. And yeah, we get to move on. Okay, so now we're on Muddy Circuit 2, which takes place effectively in the same location as the first Muddy Circuit. They just changed up the course a little bit, as you can probably tell on the minimap. So yeah, instead of going up in a big loop-de-loop, we're gonna go down underground. And it's a little bit shorter of a track than the first Muddy Circuit. I'm gonna use the skier for this tight turn. Yeah, the Raiment also gives you tighter drift, which can come in handy on like a hairpin turn like that. And I'm gonna try and pull for a cradle here because the opening short. Okay, I pulled a fan. That's fine. That whole fenced area to the right, you can skip all of that. Same in the first Muddy Circuit. I don't think I did that though. But definitely very strong shortcut. Let's see if we can pull one here. Nope, just a bomb. Oh, okay. Got hit by the Onbashira. That's probably one of the other few ways that the CPUs can actually affect you. That is a level 2 item, and it targets the person ahead of you regardless of how far away they are. And it's just 3 little pillars that fall from the sky. And usually you can usually avoid them if you're like in the middle of a drift or in midair. But they can, oh no. They can cause some trouble sometimes, so just something to keep in mind. Oh, okay, I almost dodged it. Just got nicked by the last one, but it's fine. Yes, and now we're in Old Capital. So this one's kind of tricky. There's 2 notable sections of difficulty, which are the zigzags that you can see on like the top right of the minimap. And then there's another rooftop section that's also kind of annoying. There's a nice cradle shortcut to the left there that I just passed. Okay. Yeah, the cradle shortcuts in this track are pretty good, so I usually try and pull for cradles a lot. Unfortunately, I got 2 amulets, which are going to be basically useless because there will never be anyone in front of me. But just so you know, that's a pretty good amulet spot where I just threw it, because if there is someone in front of you and you get them right over the gap, you'll make them respawn, and then they will be very mad at you. Okay, messed that up a little bit, but you can get that ring in the air. You can actually, so there was another cradle shortcut that I just passed by, and if you get a ring bounce, you can actually go into that cradle shortcut spot without a cradle. But it's extremely difficult. It's probably one of the hardest nisks in the game that people actually go for anyways. At the very least, I don't go for it. And yeah, this rooftop section is another place where you want to be careful because there's small gaps in between the houses that you can also fall into, and those will make you respawn as well. So always have to be careful on that section, just in general, because you never know when you might like mess up your drift and just fall off on your own anyways. Yeah, unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be pulling any cradles on this track. But it's fine. Oh, and this section is also good for dropping a doll. So if you drop it right there, it's pretty dimly lit, so it's hard to see. And hitting someone right there will cause them to... Oh, that's... Okay. So yeah, that was Tenchi's last word, which hits everyone with an earthquake. It is global, and it's actually an auto trigger. So she's holding that last word in her spell slot, and then she gets hit by an offensive item. It will automatically protect herself and cause the earthquake to be even stronger. So Tenchi also has a very strong last word. Alright, and now we're on depths. Okay. So this is similar to Embers in terms of visuals. Same location, same background music, that stuff. But it plays a lot differently. It's not nearly as luck-based. There is a pretty strong cradle shortcut, which we'll see if I can pull one. Okay, that's a fan. But right here, this whole area, you can skip it if you cradle right past the edge of that lava curtain. So pretty strong shortcut there. But the real trick about this track is this shortcut here, where you ride up this wall, and you can skip that little gap there. That is pretty much a must-know if you want to be competitive at this track online. Because it's not too hard, but it is very easy to mess up, especially if like someone's using the last word, like the rain that slows everyone else down or something like that. I'm gonna not switch at all, because I want to try and pull a cradle. I'll have one more chance to do it. Okay, didn't get it. But yeah, there's actually... Oh, again? No! Okay, well that was unfortunate. But not too much you can do about... Wow, okay, CPUs are really using all their last words now. But yeah, there's actually a way to get this shortcut so that you land all the way to this part here. But it is extremely difficult, and I've never pulled it off before. Yeah, so now we're in the outside world. which takes place in the real world or something. And I missed the startup boost, but that's fine. So yeah, it's definitely a flying based track. So like you can tell right from the beginning.
Uh, hey guys. Um, the problem is on Kradfiz's side, so Cosmo's trying to get it arranged, which is great. Great to do during a speed run. I know, but stuff breaks. Yep. Oh, okay, guys. We suspect his internet may have died. He's not responding at all on Discord. Um, so we're going to give him a couple minutes to see if he'll recover. I, I guess. In the meantime, I guess. Yep, he disconnected from Discord. So we will give him a couple minutes, and in the meantime, I guess I'll turn on the music for you guys because uh, as much as I'd like to sit here and entertain you, I don't think I can do that well enough. My apologies. Yep. So we'll just give him a couple minutes here. Reappears. Ooh, that's a Rooney.
I hope everyone can enjoy at least something left of the run. Because honestly, it's kind of a mess. Oh, is the sound back? Okay, it looks like the sound came back somehow. Yeah, there was a master spark, and then time slowed down. Okay, music is back too. Yeah, I'm really sorry about my internet cutting out. There's only 2 tracks left, so at the very least it happened so late in the run. Yeah, it probably will be very laggy, and I apologize that there's not much I can do about it. Okay, at least you can hear me fine. That's good to know. I'll do my best to narrate what is going on, I suppose. Yes, the slideshow. Well, fortunately, this is one of the shortest, or this is the shortest track in the game, actually. Even though it is 3 laps. It's just all driving around curves. I mean, you can tell by the minimap, it's just a bunch of circles. So this is another track that I believe that I think new players will have a hard time with it, because it is really easy to just bump into walls over and over again. But it's actually easier if you use someone with low drift, because they just slide around all the walls instead of having to like actually enter this. Oh, speaking of bumping into, I just did that myself. Did I lower the bitrate to 1000? I believe the bitrate is already at 1000, yes. But in any case, that race is over. So just one more track, and then, you know, slideshow over. And yes, Sea of Tranquility, because now we're on the moon. And then, oh no. Yeah, it is actually faster to go left at the beginning, but the CPUs like to push you to the right side, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, on this track there was actually a new shortcut that was just discovered not even a week ago that saves a lot of time, like 3 seconds per lap. So the world record for this went down by like 6 seconds in one day after it was discovered. I won't be going for it myself, but it's basically you skip this whole spiral section by going around it on the outside and over it. So it's pretty cool, but I will not be able to show it off. Though even if I did, I don't know how well you'd be able to see it anyways, so there's that. But yeah, just a fairly straightforward 2-lap course with a decent amount of flying sections. So air characters are pretty good on here.
Are you here?
And oh, hello. Oh, did the audio cut out?
You're...
Okay, I do apologize.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the run is almost over anyhow, so
Alright.
just
We'll let you finish that if hopefully the video comes back.
Oh, the video cut out again. Oh my goodness. Alright, well, that's, the run is done. Apparently the video is out. This is not good. Okay, well, that's
It's got
yeah. How is the stream?
Oh. Visually, it is completely frozen.
Is it okay? Well,
I tried to load your stream on another separate player, and it only gives me audio. It won't even give me video.
I'm just, well, the run is done, so I don't know if you want to just boot me off and move on, or...
I mean, I would say let the music finish playing, and then we'll move on, yeah.
Oh, you can hear the music. Okay, at least there's that.
I assume there's credits happening right now?
It's just the ending credits.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're your crowd. To talk to the people for a minute while the credits roll, and then we'll pick it up after you're done.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for.
They can't see anything, but
yeah.
they can hear you.
Thanks everyone for bearing with me through this minor catastrophe at the end here. I do apologize that my internet ended up cutting out and all that stuff. But hopefully that doesn't make you think any less of the game or anything. It's definitely cool. I encourage everyone to check it out if you have a chance. That's about it for me. So thanks everyone for watching, and yeah.
All right, cool, dude. Well, thanks so much for the run. I mean, unfortunate things beyond your control sometimes just happen, so don't sweat it too much.
Yeah. Okay. Am I good to?
It was a good run. Very.
Am I
Yeah, you can go ahead and stop.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. Put on Ragnarok.